With so much software available in the short-term rental industry these days, it's increasingly difficult to keep up to date with what's on the market and to determine whether it's a maybe or a must-have for you and your business. So meet one provider each week in a short interview, learning what they do and what they offer. So if you have around 15 minutes to spare, it could prove to be a very good investment to stick around. So let's see who and what is out there, one by one, with me, Deborah Larby, also known as the Guest Inspector.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Techsplained with the Guest Inspector. The competition these days isn't who's got the cleanest, prettiest, most stylish property, nor is it who's got the most direct bookings or the most properties. These days, it's all about the guest experience. A great guest experience usually means a great review, return guests, great word of mouth, and boom. Today's Techsplained is about one item that will help enhance that guest experience. Today, I'm chatting with Andy, who will explain to us exactly how this happens with Touchstay. Hello, Andy. How are you?
Hello, Deborah. I'm well. And you?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for coming along today and joining me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we're going to jump straight into it. Andy, in one sentence, can you please tell me what Touchstay does?
I'd love to be able to do it in one sentence. I will attempt to do it in one sentence. I won't take literally your word. Touchstay is a replacement for your paper welcome binder that used to sit kind of unloved, dog-eared, coffee-stained, missing page 6, etc. that used to sit on your coffee table or your kitchen counter. That was the original concept. But of course, once you start a product like ours and you enable someone to put all of that information into a product online, there's so many other things that it can do as well. So it can become a messaging tool to communicate with your guests. It can become a vehicle to sell extra things to your guests. It can be a way for you to house videos on there on how to operate certain things in the home. So, it's like that PDF binder thing that used to exist. It's a replacement of that in short, but I would say a lot more as well.
A 21st century welcome book.
That's the answer I should have given. 21st century welcome book.
Okay, well, let's start from the beginning. I'm a property manager. I'm coming to Touchstay. What is the process that I go through, and then what do I have to do, and what do I end up with?
Okay, good question. If you're a property manager, I'm assuming you've got lots of homes. For that, you get a nice guided onboarding service with us. If you're an individual host or you've just got a few properties, you just come and you self-serve. So you start a trial on our website. You get started off with a template. So you don't have to look at a blank white screen and figure out like how you're going to organize your welcome book. It's nicely templated for you. And if you want to delete things that are in the template, you can do that. If you want to add your own stuff in the template, you can do that. If you just want to rename what we've given you, you can do that. It's very, very flexible. In fact, it's 100% flexible. And so depending on which group you sit in, you get more or less love than us. So if you're a property manager, we'll do a lot of the onboarding for you. So we'll help you get set up with all of your properties on there. We'll configure them to all follow the same template. We'll do some training for you. We'll check in after a couple of weeks to make sure you're okay and what have you done, and then we'll review what you've done. So we're very kind of hands-on with that. With the owner side, you come and you self-serve like I described, but you don't kind of really get any less love. You just get more virtual love, I would say. So you'll still find us easily accessible. You'll still find smiley faces at the end of the phone if you need us, or on email if you need us. We make ourselves available. The reality is we don't tend to get many people that really need us because the product does what it says on the tin. It's not, it's not rocket science. You don't need to develop code or anything like that. You just need to, like opening up a Word doc, typing in some information, putting links to things, uploading a photo. If you can do that, you can do this. Yeah.
And you said to put in information about the listing. So, I mean, it's not a listing about the property. Are you talking about the photos and what sort of fields as a property manager, what sort of fields am I going to be filling in on Touchstay to get my guide?
Yeah, it's a good question. Every single section within the guide has a text box, and you just put in whatever you want in there. So for example, in the check-in time, with our template, there's a text box, and we filled in some language that you might want to use for your guests. Like, our check-in time is 3 p.m. We offer early check-in. If you would like, please let us know before arrival. We can't guarantee it, or there will be a charge, etc. And then you can just open up that text box and say, ooh, that language is great, but wait, I don't have 3 p.m. check-in time, I have 4 p.m. And you just delete 3, put in 4, simple text box. So that's how it works. And so we don't, it's not like a rigid sort of template where we say, now fill in this, now fill in that, now fill in that. You just get a template, which you can say, I like that section, I'm going to keep that. I like the way they've worded it, I'm going to tweak it. Next one, ooh, I hate what they've said, delete, put my own in there. So you kind of just build it up. A bit like, I mean, if people are familiar with website builders or WordPress or anything like that, where you can just add things, and then drag things into a different spot if you want them to be in a different place in your guidebook. It's just nice and intuitive and really simple, Deborah. It's literally, if you want to put something in there to tell your guests, you put it in there, simple text box.
And you're saying that with the welcome book, you can put video. So, for example, if you want to explain how to use the oven, you can do a little video and upload.
Absolutely. Yep. And the video will play directly inside the guide.
Now, one of the things that I did see on your website is it's actually a web app. So, as a property manager, once I've established my welcome book, not guest book. Sorry, guidebook. We had a discussion earlier. I'm an old school, it's a welcome book. So once I get the welcome book established, then I send the link to the guest prior to arrival. So they can already get familiar with the property. I suppose there's also directions and things included as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. Once you're ready to send it, as a property manager, you don't need to be integrated with Touchstay. And this is the thing that I think is one of the advantages of using Touchstay. Many people say, oh, you're not integrated with my PMS. Like, how does that work? Stop. Okay. Integrations can break. They can go wrong. They can be complex to configure. You don't need it. There's very little information inside a PMS that sits in a guidebook. Almost nothing. Your welcome book becomes becomes effectively the source record for all of your property area information. So all you then do, once you've completed it, each property has its own unique guidebook link. You take the link for that property, go into your PMS and put it in a field within your property record, and you're done. Because then you let the PMS CRM take care of sending it out to guests. And we don't get in the way of that. And you don't need that connection.
Yeah. Well, I think as a property manager, I would have put that in the pre-arrival, the week before, pre-arrival, there's the link, because the link will always be up to date. If I've updated something on Touchstay, that link is always up to date. So I don't have to worry about sending the link again. It's already there, part of the pre-arrival email.
Correct. And we help with some templates of the wording that you could use to introduce it to your guests, because I think one of the most important things about a welcome book product is not only the content you put in there, but the way in which you deliver it to the guests, to get the guests to read the flipping thing, So if you just put it in there on your booking confirmation and expect the guest to read it, forget about it. They're just not going to, I'm in that camp. If I've booked 6 months out and someone sends me it after booking confirmation, like, what is this? So by all means, send it there so that they know it's that in the back of their mind, oh, I remember that thing they sent me. But then 7 days prior or 24 hours prior or 48 hours prior, send it again and do it 3 times. So booking 7 days prior, 24 hours prior, or booking 48, 24, or booking 24 day of, however you want to do it. And we give you templated messages that frame how you introduce it. So there's when you send it, and how often you send it, and then there's how you introduce it. So not, oh yeah, thanks for booking a stay, here's the link to my welcome book. Well, what's that? What's this weird link? As a guest, you're very leery of things that are a bit kind of unusual, because we get so many messages from our hosts and our managers. So make it clear, like, here's this great guide that I've prepared to your stay. It's going to tell you bullet, 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 and you bullet the most frequently asked questions you get. So where do I pick up the key? What time do I check in? Where do I pick up groceries? And then as a guest, you're like, oh, there is something in it for me. If I access this thing, I am going to get my question answered. And stat, Deborah, 86% of our customers have halved the amount of time they spend answering guest questions. We surveyed them. And so the reality is guests do read if give them something interesting to read that's got something in it for them, delivered at the right time, and explains in that delivery what it is they're going to get. If you don't do those things, of course, guests don't read. That's it. That's human nature. What's in it for me?
Yes. And Touchstay is a web app. Now, we've touched on web app before in an earlier Techsplained video. Can you explain what a web app is again, please?
Yes. Think of a web app as nothing more complex than a website link. That's it. Okay. You send your guest a website link. They click on the link and it opens up on their phone just like any other website. The difference is it sort of looks and feels like an app because it's organized in a way that's a little bit different to a website. But essentially it's the same thing. We're actually a progressive web app, which is a step further than that, there's a little prompt that comes up on the home screen when you open it that says, would you like to add it to your home screen? And it's optional. So the guest could click X and just like view it as a mobile website. But if they add it to their home screen, then it puts an app icon on their home screen without them having to go to the App Store or the Play Store with your branding inside the app. And then they don't have to go and retrieve it from an email. They now have it on their home screen, and it's available offline.
Yes, this is what I was going to come to, because I like this offline thing, because you're out in the middle of nowhere, you have no reception, or you've just arrived in a foreign country and you're not hooked up to any Wi-Fi yet. Having that offline is great. So this is a technology thing where you connect it to your home page and it's always on your phone. You haven't downloaded any particular app. It's just this permanent link.
Correct. Yeah, but it looks and feels no different from a normal app. Like it will look like the Facebook app or the Twitter app with your logo in the middle. And the technology has basically stored the content inside that app. And because the content is kind of nice and lightweight, it's low data that it's storing. And of course, if you're sending people off to a link that requires a connection to a third-party website, that's not going to work offline. But if you're explaining how to check in and where to pick up the keys, that will be available for you if you've stepped off the plane and you don't have connectivity yet.
Fantastic. And I'm not going to check anything there. Okay. What is your unique selling point?
Oh my goodness, Deborah. What is our unique? Like, I'm tempted to say, oh, it's like the offline access, or it's the, you can put videos in there or whatever. But I think all of those things are great. The reality is it's the service that we'll deliver. I think if you go and ask any Touchstay customer, if you ask on any social group what it's like to work with us, I'm very British. I kind of hate going, but that we do pride ourselves on like being personable, being accessible. If you post something in our private Facebook group, you'll get a bunch of existing customers who will help and reply, because they're all of that kind of mindset. They're all of that help mindset. If you come onto our website, you'll see a live chat, and the live chat isn't always turned on, but you can fill in the box and we'll always get back to you within a few hours, unless we're sleeping. And as I said, like for the onboarding, we're very personal, hands-on. And, this is one of the things that I think with a software business, it's quite easy to say, you know what, it's like, come and sign up and away you go. And then there's sort of nobody behind the software face. And we don't want as a business to get into hand-holding every customer. That would be done from the business side. But we do try to balance that. We're a software product, but we're very human and personal behind it. So that to me is what it's like when you start a software. You want it to be easy and nice and like have the features you want. But ultimately, if something isn't right, you need to be able to get to the right answer or ask the right question or find somebody who understands what you're going through. That's, I would say, what our USP is.
Good answer. Now,
thank you.
we've already touched on the statistic that you mentioned about saving time. What are the other reasons, or what are the main reasons to use your product?
Yes, save time, absolutely. You will save time because your guests will ask fewer questions, and when your guests are asking fewer questions, you can obviously go and focus on the other parts of your business that we all know that there are tons of things to do in this business. So that's definitely the priority number one. The second aspect is that the ease of maintaining this content is so much easier than doing it manually. So take an example, if you've got a fleet of 20 or 30 homes and your check-in time changes across all of them, instead of going and updating 20 or 30 individual Word docs or PDFs, you just change it in one place in Touchstay and it updates them all. If 10 of them change to 3 p.m. but the others are all 5 p.m., that's fine too. You just tell Touchstay which properties to update with 3 p.m. and which to leave at 5 p.m. And that same concept applies to restaurant recommendations. If place is closed, you just hop into Touchstay, turn it off, a new one gets added, hop in, add it. And Touchstay's system, I won't get into it too much, but there's a tagging system which allows you for every bit of content you add to tell Touchstay which guides to send it to. So you could say, send it to these 5 and not these 10. You know, I've got places in Florida, let's say, and I've got some in Miami and some in Tampa and some in Orlando. I don't want to send the same restaurant to all 3. So all I do is I tell Touchstay, hey, send this restaurant to Miami, this one to Orlando, this one to Tampa. So that's the other advantage, is that it's much, much easier to maintain. I would say the third advantage is that your guests are going to get a much better experience. So yes, they don't have to ask as many questions, but there's a kind of deeper psychological thing there as well, which is that they feel like there's a more professional approach there. They see your branding. They get familiar, comfortable with who you are, and that then leads to hopefully a even better, because I know a lot of our customers already have great review scores, but an even better review score, and potentially even some referrals or indeed some repeat bookings. I hate kind of saying, oh, you know, it drives loads of repeat bookings. The reality is we all know that repeat bookings on a small business of 10, 20, 30 properties, they're not going to be that high amongst all your bookings. So having a book direct strategy is great, and kind of we help a little bit with that, but I don't want to kind of go, oh, use this and you can just get loads of repeat bookings. You know, we know it's a bit more complicated than that. But those are the 3 things really, Deborah. So it's like cut down on the amount of questions, ease of updating it, and professional look to your guests.
Yes. Can we just go back to when you're actually putting in the information about the property? There is about the Google restaurants and the local attractions and things like that. So how does that work? When I'm setting up my property in Touchstay, do I just say, my location is this, pick up the top restaurants in Google, or do I have to actually input them myself?
You do, but we integrate with Google Places, so it's nice and easy for you to add them. You're just using a little box on our system to search, just like you might do in Google. Yeah. You find the restaurant, you click add, it adds it. Okay. But we don't look at a radius of 5 miles around your area and pull in everything, just because we don't know what you would like to have in there. Okay. So yeah, it's designed to be put in there what you want, and more importantly as well, to recognize that you're sort of way better than Google, clearly. So you might pick the best 5 or 10 places, and then if a guest wants to go and search for the Starbucks or the Burger King or whatever, then they can do that. Like, that exists, that's easy. But the hidden Italian restaurant around the corner, that's the one you're putting in Touchstay.
Well, we know our guest avatar, I suppose, so we put the correct places according to our guests. So yeah, makes sense.
Right.
We can personalize.
Perfect.
Great. Okay, lovely. Now, white labeling. Now, it is all branded, correct? If with Touchstay and my welcome book, it's branded according to my brand.
Correct. Yeah, you can choose your fonts, you can choose your color scheme, you can put your own logo, you can add your own app icon, and then you can also put in there the other things that you would expect in any system, a link to your website. There's nothing kind of visual there which makes them think they're using Touchstay. It's completely branded to you. By default, it starts with the Touchstay branding, but then you just go in and change it to yours.
Yeah. Okay. Now, and the target audience. So we did touch on hosts and multiple properties. So really anyone with one property who needs a welcome book can use Touchstay.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah. I mean, we have somebody that's got, a share a room Airbnb, and then we've got somebody who's got, over 1,000 properties. So it's everything in between.
And given that it's all online, you do appeal to a global audience. You don't have any restricted audience. It's global.
Yeah, it's global. 50% of our business is in the States, about 25 in the UK. The balance is Australia and smattered around the world. But we've got an increasing number of clients now in Europe. And that's because we also have a language translation feature inside the app. So you can switch on Google Translate if you want, and then the guest can choose their language. And that works for a lot of people. It's a bit literal, but it's better than it ever used to be. But if having Spanish is really important for you to have absolutely correct, because the majority of your customers are Spanish speaking, then you just hop into Touchstay, you activate the Spanish section, and then you can, a lot of the stuff within the app we translate for you, like a lot of the the labels on things, but your content, you do still have to go in there and add the Spanish version, because no way of miraculously going, oh, and now we've got a perfect Spanish version. So I wish, but we facilitate that for you to do. And then what happens when the guest accesses that, the Touchstay detects their browser language. So if they're a Spanish customer and their browser language is Spanish, then it will look, has Touchstay got a Spanish version for this guidebook? Yes, it has. Serve that first. If it hasn't, it goes back to English.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, how does the pricing work then for Touchstay?
It's a monthly or an annual subscription, depending on the number of properties you have. So one property is either $12.50 per month or $99 a year. We do have UK pricing as well, so there is a GBP equivalent. If you have multiple properties, then the next property, so your second one, is half the price. Your third, fourth, and fifth are a little bit less, and then the more you add, it comes down and down and down. So it can get down to, if you've got a lot of properties, it can get down to sort of $25, $30 a year kind of. So yeah, it works. I mean, it's very, very affordable for an organization. If you've got a property and you're currently spending time on maintaining and updating a PDF and printing it, you've spent 25 or 30 a year on it straight away just because of that.
Yeah. Now, is there any contract? Does anyone have to, lock in?
No.
Okay.
No, there's you sign up and accept our terms and conditions. And anyone can do that before they start. Just go to touchstay.com. The terms and conditions are in the footer. In terms of what you're committed to is 30 days notice, and anything that you've paid already doesn't get refunded. So if you've paid an annual in advance and you decide to cancel after a couple of months, we're not going to give you that money back. But you can certainly exit when you want. Yeah.
Okay. Now that's come to the end of my questions. Was there anything else about Touchstay that we should know about?
I mean, probably, but I mean, you've honestly asked the really important questions. If I went on and did anything else, I'd be in sales mode, so I'm not going to do that. Well, actually, one thing, there is a free trial, 14-day free trial. So that's definitely worth coming and checking out. And I should say, we've got a range of templates. So when you sign up, you can choose if you're a short-term rental or a bed and breakfast or a glamping site or a campsite or a camper van, you can choose which one you are and it'll put the right template in there. So yeah, but I'm getting onto sales mode now, Deborah. So no, all the questions were great. We covered it.
Okay. Well, if anyone has any questions for Andy or Touchstay, please pop them in the comments below. I will include a link for Touchstay and the guest inspector in the description. And thank you very much, Andy, for explaining Touchstay. It's been lovely chatting.
Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Bye.
See ya.